Hey there, you wonderful people, and welcome to a quick Planet Coaster video. Well, it's me, so it's maybe not quick, but yeah, today we got the free coaster. Frontier announced that already a few days ago, and we do have it, right? It's here. It's an incredible B&M sit-down. We're gonna look at it in a few bits, a little bit more in detail, but yeah, I just want to show you, this is the overlay you just get when you jump into the game. It's a free coaster, who doesn't like free stuff, but there's also paired with a lot of new updates and new bug fixes and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you have seen that already at Geekism Yonti's channel, so I don't want to go too much into this. I'm gonna talk a little bit about something more about Planet Coaster. I was wanting to do this video for quite a while. I didn't really found the time and the spot and the situation to do this, but I think today is a pretty good day to do it, and so let's quickly just wrap it up and go into a park and check out this coaster. And boom, here we go. Here is the lovely coaster just sitting right in front of us in the game, and let's just have a quick look onto this coaster. And I think I can really tell that the picture they shared on social media before the game was going live, or the update was going live, so to say, was a bit unfortunate. The angle was shot like this somehow, and it looked to be way like over themed and way too much into this kind of, yeah, even like it looks like a Cadillac or whatsoever, like a little bit of a car. But if I look at the train from this angle, it basically looks as a normal, standard, very flat train. Not really to worry, something to worry about. It actually looks pretty decent, I should say. And yeah, also, as always, the detail is phenomenal. It's super awesome, and we have this little icon here in the front, which says this is dedicated to the Frontier anniversary of 25 years, little bits and pieces everywhere. Let's see if we can find another one, if there's anything else. I love these little exhaust bits, so yeah, it definitely is themed after a car, I guess. But yeah, as always, the detail is very nice. Maybe we can find something down here. Maybe they've hidden something somewhere as well. That would be so super awesome to find, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like. It doesn't really seem like, but it's always important to see how much detail goes into this one. Even like on the screws and stuff, it's always super detailed. Even though I'm missing out on the company this time, the Scream Machines, I'm missing out on that one. But anyhow, it's also these little bits over here. But yeah, so let's also dedicate a little bit of a look into the coaster. And this coaster has a few different track pieces. It comes with a pretty normal, standardized lift hill, even though I have to say I find this really interesting. I don't know if I was too dumb to see that, but I love this little transition in terms of steepness once it goes from the normal little bit over here into the staircase, which I think is lovely, since it's really something I haven't seen too often. But yeah, as I said, it's maybe just me. Also having these little security nets on the other hand side. I know that there are a few coasters that do have it, but I'd love to have them on all coasters, since, or at least to have the option to enable them on all coasters. That would be awesome. But this gives a little bit of the special feel to the coaster, because I believe if we would be here to enable the catwalk, yeah, there we go, we already get this one. So it would be lovely to just enable this, and then also be able to go into a normal track piece later on, like a curve over here, and then just enable it, and not have, you know, the problem about this is being now that this obviously looks pretty dumb and isn't realistic at all. But if we would be here to decide whether we only have the security nets without the optional catwalk, that would be awesome. But yeah, for the moment it doesn't. What I wanted to test though is, because I was just recognizing something, and in the update notes they also said they improved a little bit the way the coaster and the banking behaved, and also fixed some stuff about the banking. I wanted to see what's happening if it is smoother than it was before. I was just placing down some bits and pieces. This should be now a pretty good launch. I have no idea how quick it will be. Okay, it should be enough to give us a little bit of a glimpse. Oh yeah, that looks super smooth actually. Yeah, this looks awesome. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, they improved this already with the Magnificent Ride collection in general, but that was an awesomely smooth transition over here, and I didn't really pay any attention to angles or whatnot. I just built this very crazy thing over here, but look at the behavior of the train. That looks awesome. By the way, I'm installing something in the background, so don't worry. These little little lags are not because of the update. It all runs as it was running before. Everything is just fine. But here we go. Yeah, as I was already telling you in the update, there are a few bug fixes, including that we do have finally again the old gizmo, how it was supposed to be working before the Magnificent Ride collection. Even though if you like the, for whatever reason, broken one more than the old one, which was kind of working at least, you can still enable that in the options. I'm going to show it to you quickly. I think they are still working on it to finally get a perfect one working. But at the moment, I'm way more happy to have the old one back, so that helps us doing the stuff. So you have the option to enable or disable this, and this, as you can see, it's by default, it's not enabled, but you can enable it. It's the average orientation advanced mode move. I would highly suggest to not do it that time, but as I said, I don't really know what they were doing there, but it seems not to have been working the way they wanted it to work, and yeah. Anyhow, as the title of this video says, this is not only about this free coaster, which is by no means bad. It's, well, we do have a pretty awesome lag over here. I think it was because of the autosave a second ago. Here we go. Okay, great. Back to working. This was not because of the installing thing in the background. This was basically because of the autosave, I guess. Anyways, oh yeah, before I forget, props to Frontier finally to implement a blueprint that really is good, like really good. I already told you in the last couple of bits of the Magnificent Rides, for example, I'm not the biggest fan of the internally provided blueprints of the coasters, but they're not bad, but they're not always like good. I feel like you can do pretty much awesome stuff with the coasters by now, but yeah, the layouts were pretty much not the most glorious ones, to put it that way, but this one is really good. Since I'm not an expert on B&M sit-down coasters, even though I find them to be looking awesome, and this is like for me the standard B&M coaster, but I've never ridden one, so this is, you know, somewhat ridiculous, but I don't know how much this is like made out of Incredible Hulk, but I guess it's pretty close to it, at least from what I have just seen quickly. But at least it's a good layout. It's a really good layout. The train behavior looks to be pretty awesome. I'm just quickly pausing the game here, since this is really taking a little bit too much of my CPU usage at the moment, so let's just pause it. Yeah, as I said, the title already said that I'm not going to talk only about this coaster. I also wanted to talk about one particular thing, and this is which kind of direction is Frontier moving to with Planet Coaster, since I really do believe that at the moment there is no big need to focus on, you know, these DLC packs we had in the past before the Magnificent Rides, which were only dedicated always to either a theme or either rides, end with a theme, or, you know, it was always like, I don't know, it was basically always a little bit like, the one is dedicated more to the casual players, and the other one was more dedicated to the more hardcore players. So in one update we got like these always nitty-gritty little bits and pieces, special rides that only fulfill the need of a few people, and in another one, like for example the World's Fair pack, we got like a bunch of new shops and new brands and stuff like that. So for those people who really abuse the game in terms of the more you have, the better it is, right? And not the more detail it is, the better it is. The more you have, the better it is. And this was kind of followed with this update, so I'm not really sharing the opinion that most people were sharing, that this wasn't a great DLC. It wasn't a great DLC for us, the hardcore community, but it was definitely a great DLC for those of the people seeking for new themes and new brands, and I feel like this was a good move by Frontier. But being here in January 2019, the game has evolved over way more than 2 years, and we are at a stage where the game is still having some quality of lifetime updates. But I think Frontier is moving more towards the direction, and here, just a little disclaimer, I've not talked to anyone of Frontier. This is purely my own opinion, my own suggestion, or basically not suggestion, my own guessing, so to say, of what will be done. Obviously, I'm grounding this on the recent updates and recent behavior, but I feel like there still is something made at Frontier for Planet Coaster, which is hopefully really focused on rides and on kind of you know, extending the already available content in terms of rides and coasters and all these kind of bits and pieces, since I really find it interesting how coasters have evolved over the time, and I was putting this in here for a reason. So as you can see, and I hope it can be transported pretty well, this piece over here, this is like the track piece of the new implemented B&M sit-down coaster, and this is the track piece of the already since the release of the game implemented werewolf coaster. And as you can see, there is not much of a difference. In fact, since this is both a B&M manufactured ride, obviously in the game it's not mentioned that way, it is basically the same brand, so it is the same piece. It is obviously a little bit adjusted to the train type, but this is just a tad bit of an implementation in the station. The coaster type itself is pretty much the same. So here I am wondering if there could be a move made by Frontier to really unify the coaster system a little bit, and let me just show you what I mean by that. So we do have an awesome choice of coasters by now. Like, by no means this is pretty much incredible. We have so many different coaster types in the game. You can really recreate like 80% of all coasters available, I guess, or maybe 70. I don't know over promising, but there's one thing I really don't like about this, and I think this is like a decision that was made in the beginning and could have been, you know, it was not that easy to be foreseeing that. But at the moment we have so many different coaster types with different trains that this is always a combination of coaster type and train. Obviously we got the beautiful addition that we can mix and match some trains on some coasters, but this really doesn't really follow a certain logic. It really is well, it does follow a certain logic, because obviously not every train can be placed on every track. But here is it: if you would just only lay down the available tracks, for example, you would have a way smaller number than we have trains available. Let me just show you what I mean. If we go, for example, in here, we have the Boomerang and we have the Boomerang Trident coaster. These two coasters are separated coasters in the game. Then we have the Looping Dagon design and we have the Looping American Arrow design. All of those four coasters, these two and these two, sharing the same track type. And here is my question, or basically my suggestion, I would say. It's not a question. Why not unifying these? Oh, by the way, and the Hypercoaster has the same track as well, so 5 of those. So why not get one coaster type like that, like a track type, with all the different track variants that all these 5 things share, and then let us decide which coaster train we want on that. So first of all, the menu would be way better organized, since we wouldn't have that many track types. And second of all, we could maybe get somewhere in the future only a train update. Honestly, I would be paying double the amount of money to get a train type update. Like, give me a new train type to every, I don't know, coaster track type available. I'd be totally in for that. So this is really like streamlining a whole system, and maybe giving also the option to Frontier to create more content out of less input, so to say, so that, you know, you could be way better go into and add functions to an existing ride, or maybe give it a little bit more individualization by adding some, as I said, car types and whatnot. This would be awesome. So we would actually be in for a lot more streamlined menu. That's the first thing. Maybe for more train types, and also for having a way better experience in recreating things. Because again, some examples. I made the recreation of Space Mountain, and Space Mountain is basically the Boomerang, or let's say the Looping Dagon or Looping Coaster or Hypercoaster, whatever you want to call it, but it is the old school Vekoma track type, or which is basically the Aero Looping Coaster type. So I should show you the other one we just got recently. Where is that, by the way? Well, it doesn't really matter. It is kind of the same track type. So it is the old Vekoma Looping Coaster track type. This one has, and this is the other thing, it has a launch and a lift hill. The problem is we don't have both on there. We don't have a Arrow, then okay, I'm mixing up things. We don't have an old Vekoma track type with a launch, but we have one with a lift hill. So it would be awesome to finally get the launch option included, but only this track type, so we can mix and match every cast, because obviously for the Space Mountain ride I would love to take another car, which is more fitting to it than the others. So for example, I would love to take the hypercoaster car of the Anubis, if this is even possible. Would be happy to have this as a, you know, Space Mountain-ish kind of-ish train, to put that one onto this track type of the hypercoaster equalizer, to make sure that I can somehow rebuild Space Mountain if I want to. And this is kind of giving us the option to recreate stuff and to have more options in the game without adding too much, actually. So I really hope that Frontier is considering going into this direction, or at least if in the future, somewhere in the future, there will be a Planet Coaster 2 at some point, that this could be considered, because I really would love if this could be a thing, to make it all a bit more organized and a bit more flexible, and also a bit more versatile, I should say. I think these are the basic things we have. So at the moment you can really boil this down to different manufacturers having different track types in the game, with different trains. But at the moment it is not organized that way, as I just said it. It is more organized in the way of track type and car type together building one coaster. And then you have potentially the same track type with another coaster train making coaster B. So obviously that bumps up the amount of coasters you have in the game. But it doesn't really give you a good idea of how many different options you have. And yeah, with the option of mixing trains, it even got more confusing. And by the time the Magnificent Ride Collection was launched, I think that was pretty much the moment for me where I thought, okay, yeah, this should be the point where now things should be a bit different. Since, yeah, a few things just happened that I think would make it more obvious to put it all a bit more streamlined. But I'm starting to repeat myself. I just wanted to let you know that I hope that this is the direction we are going, since, yeah, having all these different things in here is kind of ridiculous after a time, since we always have the same track type. I know there are restrictions, and this is exactly why I feel like it is okay to have at least a little bit of separation in between. So for example, a wing coaster doesn't need a completely different station design as the sit down or whatever, but there are pretty much simple things. And you know what, the thing is, we can even let me just go in here. I was actually thinking of if this would be a problem to change the station design, but there's the thing, we actually can change the station design. We can just station, you know what, we can just change the station on the go. So, you know, if there was an option in here where we could choose like which kind of option we have, like wing coaster, sit down, stand up or whatnot, or at least give it the option just to choose the train here or whatever we want, then the coaster station gets, for example, this mechanism down here as well, to make sure that the realism is kind of kept. I mean, this is what I really hope the game would develop to, since I feel like this would be a cool addition. And as I said, I'd be pretty happy to only get this as a DLC. I'm for, or not as a DLC, maybe as a main update, and then give me, I don't know, 6 coaster trains as a DLC. But the option alone would already be an awesome update. And talking about this, I feel like that the next DLCs or updates or whatever you want to call it should again be more focused on ride collection, since the Theme Maker's Toolkit really finally starts to use its full potential, even though the kind of lag and kind of slowing down of the game may have to be tackled. I know that Frontier is working on that, and we have mentioned this, but it really adds a lot of value to the game, and I'm still having really a strong belief in that there is no need for a DLC that features again a whole themed pack. I'm really willing to believe that Frontier is putting all their resources that surely are not as big as they've been 2 years ago, but they are focusing them on delivering more rides and quality of lifetime updates, rather than a, I don't know, Morocco themed style DLC pack, whatever, since, you know, we can just pretty much do this with the DMT at this point in time, and to really feature it, you know, it is still working in the game. So we do have it. There is no real need for it, but I'm going to do a dedicated video to the TMT quite soon, since I believe there's also some need to talk about. But that should be it already from my side for this video. I hope you enjoyed looking at this coaster for the first time, and if you haven't checked this out yourself, you can do it. It's a free update, and maybe you have some other ideas how to streamline the coaster system, but this is just my little bits on it, and I hope, as I said, you enjoyed that, and see you tomorrow again in Island Party with a very special announcement. And also hope you will go and have a glimpse at my AUNA series, because I can really tell you that's an awesome game. So see you next time, and bye bye.
We should be hiding out wherever we may find